The Seattle Seahawks travel across the country tomorrow morning to play the New York Jets. What's going on, everybody? Saturday morning, a lot of college football today. I will be going live later today for the Huskies game in about 7.5 hours, but the main event is still tomorrow morning. Seahawks going to New York, going to MetLife, taking on the New York Jets, the hapless 3-8, very disappointing and underachieving New York Jets. And we got some stuff to talk about there for sure. Got some matchup stuff to break down. But before we get there, I got a couple things that I want to say. First, I do plan on doing a watch-along stream of this game. And you guys know that I only do this a few times a year for the Seahawks. I'm planning on doing it twice for the regular season, and this is going to be one of those games. I'll probably do it again next week for the Cardinals game, but this will be the first one. Now, I will be on my laptop, so it's going to be a webcam, it's going to be a microphone, and that's about it. There's not going to be any on-screen graphics, there's not going to be a scoreboard or anything like that. It's just going to be me with the webcam on me and the microphone recording me. That's it. So, not going to be my A game, but I will be doing play-by-play. I will be doing reactions. I will be doing commentary. I will be talking with the chat. So, if that sounds interesting to you, come on by tomorrow at 10 a.m. Kickoff right around then in MetLife, and the stream will be going. So, if that sounds fun to you, make sure you're there. Just wanted to let everybody know about that. That's number one. Number two, second thing, we are, as of me recording this video, about 80 subscribers short of 19,000. So we got 1 day left in the month. And I don't know if we can get 80 subscribers in 1 day. It's not likely. But if you are watching this video and you like Seahawks videos and you are not subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button. Takes about a second. Costs you nothing. And let's try to get to that 19,000 number by the end of the day. And if we don't, let's get close so we can get there tomorrow or the next day. And let's keep on motoring towards hopefully hitting 20,000 by the end of the Seahawks season. We can definitely do it. Very doable. We just have to keep pushing. And we need the Seahawks to probably make a little bit of a postseason run. But hey, if we're rooting for one thing, we can root for the other thing. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please think about doing so. I appreciate it. Like the video, too, while you're at it. That always helps. All right, so let's move along. The New York Jets. One of the more disappointing teams in New York Jets history, and that's really saying something because the Jets have a lot of disappointing teams in their club history. They're often disappointing. So, you looked at this matchup before the season started, and you definitely had a certain kind of game in mind. And I can tell you, this was one of the games that I was sure the Seahawks were going to lose before the season started. I thought that in March, I thought that in August, and I never wavered on that before the season started because the Jets just looked like they were going to be good. Maybe not great, but they looked like they were going to have a decent offense, maybe even good. And it looked like they were going to have an elite defense. 11 games in, they have a terrible offense, and they have an okay defense. And the defense, I think, gets set up a little bit by the offense, but that doesn't explain everything. Like, you go back to week 1, Jets playing the Niners. Niners are missing Christian McCaffrey. They got their backup running back in there. Jets still couldn't stop them. Jets still got run all over by a backup running back, and that kind of set the tone for them the whole season, where even when Saleh was there, and don't get me wrong, I think firing Saleh was a terrible mistake and an awful idea by a terrible owner in Woody Johnson, but they weren't even that good with Saleh. Now, the bottom has dropped out without him, and clearly that was a big error on the part of the Jets ownership, but even before then, they were a disappointment. So, what characterizes these Jets as a disappointment? A few different things, for sure. Definitely a few different things we can go through. And definitely things you need to exploit if you want to win, because as a couple of recent Jets opponents learned the hard way, just because this Jets team is bad doesn't mean they can't bite you. They beat the Texans a few weeks ago. That's a team with playoff aspirations. They lost to the Colts by 1 point, I think, in Indianapolis. That Colts team is trying to make the playoffs, so that's two good opponents that the Jets have either beaten or taken to the wire. So they're not just going to roll over unless you force them to. If you let them hang around, they will hang around and maybe even win the game. There's a lot of talent on that team that is currently not living up to its potential, so you're going to have to show up and take it from them. But at the end of the day, I do like this Seahawks team to be able to do that. I think that there's enough here you can exploit. But if we're being honest, there's some things with this Jets team that could exploit the Seahawks. It's not the greatest matchup. I will concede to that. So let's start with the Jets on the offensive side of the ball, because that's the side of the ball that you can most easily take advantage of. That's the side of the ball where the Jets are just bad. There are two things going on there. Number one would be Aaron Rodgers. He can't move anymore. Still got a decent enough arm, can still sling it. Not as much as he used to, but it is still, as far as basic quarterback skills go, okay. He can throw it, but his mobility is gone. His ability to buy time in the pocket is gone. Ability to evade the rush is gone. It's all gone. And maybe it's because he's old. Maybe it's because of the injury from last year, which is still lingering. Maybe he's hurt right now. But the thing that stands out about this Jets offense, first and foremost, would be the fact that Aaron Rodgers just can't really move in the pocket. So if you get pressure on him, you're probably going to be able to kill plays with pressure, because unlike other quarterbacks in this league that can get pressured and recover, Rodgers kind of can't anymore. It's not shocking that a 41, or what is he, 40 or 41 now? I think he's still 40 until actually the second when he turns 41. It's not shocking that a quarterback that old would be immobile, but for Aaron Rodgers, it is surprising, and it's also a big problem because his game depends so heavily on his ability to move. The Jets' offensive line does do a pretty good job protecting him, and it's not really so much a matter of he gets pressured a lot. It's just that when he gets pressured, hard for him to deal with it, hard for him to contend with it. So there's not much you can say other than he's old and will probably never really have it again. He had it for a long time, but not enough to bounce back from the Achilles tear. So that's number one. But to me, it's not the most shocking thing about this team, because really, again, an older quarterback with an Achilles injury and maybe a hamstring injury, you wouldn't expect him to be mobile. The Jets can't run the ball at all. And I said this when I was streaming with the Hawks Nest. The Jets are like the Seahawks, but worse. The Seahawks have made a big investment at running back, but they can't run the ball, and that's bad. But the Jets have made a big investment at running back and on the offensive line, and they can't run the ball, which is worse. You look at the Jets team, I know Breece Hall had a big injury a couple years ago. That is still a very good, very talented running back. That's still a really, really good ball carrier, a really good playmaker. They got him in the second round. You got Braylon Allen, a power back, and I know he's mostly a power back, but he's good. That's your 1-2 punch. That's a really nice 1-2 punch. And then you've got all the investments they made on that offensive line, which for pass protection have worked fairly well. Tyron Smith, long-time veteran. Now he's out for this game, but guess what? You've got Olu Fashanu off the bench, a first-round pick from this most recent draft. You've got Joe Tippmann, a center they spent, what was it, a second-round pick on, I think? I think he was a second-round pick. You've got Simpson from Baltimore. They signed him. Elijah Vera Tucker, former first-round pick. Morgan Moses, they signed him in free agency. This is a team that made big investments on the offensive line, and they can't run the ball still. So with the Seahawks, it's easy to tell why they can't run the ball. It's actually simple, right? They can't run the ball because they have no offensive line. They can't run block. The Jets, I don't know why this team can't run the ball. Part of it is because they abandon the run. They don't run the ball that often. But there's no reason why they would do that unless just a sense that they can't do it effectively, right? They have an old quarterback who isn't that effective anymore. They have talented running backs. They have the offensive line. The defense hasn't been great, but it's been capable. It's been satisfactory. It's been workable. So the fact that the Jets choose not to run the ball and don't run the ball that effectively is, to me, the biggest surprise with this offense. And I don't know exactly why it is. You look at it, and in theory, everything should fall into place for them to be able to have a really effective rushing attack and for them to lean into the rushing attack, but it hasn't happened. And because of that, Aaron Rodgers gets put in a lot of ugly situations where he just has to keep slinging it, and he's not capable of doing that anymore. He can't win games like that. He can't put up points like that. So you do wonder if maybe one of these days the Jets are going to realize, look, we just got to commit to the run, whatever happens. Like, we can't survive having Rodgers sling it this much. We cannot survive having a non-existent rushing attack to this degree. But we're 11 games in. Jets season is basically over. If they haven't realized it by now, why would they realize it now? And you look at the Seahawks defense, they've gotten such improved play from their front seven that you wouldn't figure this is the team you would suddenly be able to run the ball on. Maybe a few weeks ago you would have, but the Seahawks have been so good against the run the last few games, I feel like even if they tried, we would just shut it down. Now, the Jets should probably have Breece Hall tomorrow, so they have a chance to run the ball, but it doesn't feel like they will. Sorry if you can hear my dogs, by the way. So that's most of the stuff with the Jets offense. They have good receivers. Garrett Wilson's really good. Devontae Adams, still a good player. Not what he used to be, but still good. They've got Lazard. He's all right. Not a huge fan, but he's fine. They got, what's his name? Conklin at tight end. He's okay. So they got the weapons. They got the decent weapons, but it just won't come together, and they're 27th in scoring, I think. So what else are you going to say other than it's media? It's not even a mediocre offense. And the way the Seahawks defense has been playing lately, the way they've gotten pressure against a good Cardinals offensive line, the way they've stopped the run, the way they've come up with big plays to get turnovers, and the way that Aaron Rodgers has now, over his last 2 seasons in the league actually playing football, has become a quarterback who will turn it over. This is not the old Aaron Rodgers who never turned it over. You would expect good things to happen. But then there's the other side of the ball where you have a Jets defense that has been, like I said, somewhere between okay and heroic. On the one hand, the results have been okay. They're like 13th in points allowed. But their effort has been heroic because they have no offense to back them up. It's a lot like last year's Jets team. Honestly, last year's Jets team was probably a little bit more impressive. That defense fought and fought and fought and fought, even though they had no chance. But you're still talking about Quinnen Williams, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league, and we are going to battle him with an interior line that is still very, very soft, and now we have a brand new starter in Lomia. First ever NFL action. You don't love that. You really would prefer to have some better players in the middle when you're dealing with Quinnen Williams. You've got Will McDonald off the edge. He's been good for them this year. CJ Mosley might play. I suspect that he will, being honest. I think CJ Mosley will play. This Jets team has been good at getting pressure. This Jets team has talent in the secondary. It hasn't always lived up to that talent, but it does have talent in the secondary. And to me, the thing that stands out in some of these recent games is the poor tackling. Like, the Jets are probably, I haven't seen any metric that would confirm this, but based on what I've seen, they are probably one of the worst tackling teams in the league. And I think it more comes down to just like, I think it more just comes down to a matter of technique. I think it comes down to a matter of mentality. more so than anything to do with talent. This Jets team has plenty of talent. So normally what I would say is run the ball. The Jets' run defense has not been very good this year. They've given up a lot on the ground, and a lot of teams have been able to have success on the Jets by just pounding the rock. But we know that's not going to happen because these are the Seahawks, and they can't run block at all. They have no ability to run block. So if we try to do that, it's probably not going to work. It's probably going to be ugly. And unless the offensive line has some sort of come to Jesus moment this week around Sataoa Lomia, it's probably going to be business as usual, where the team just kind of runs the ball to balance it out a little, balance out the offense a little bit, with no expectation of it really working. And that will force them to lean on Geno Smith in the passing game. Now, the good news is we have our receivers. We have DK, we have Lockett. Of course, we got JSN, Noah Fant's back. So that's great. That's good. We like that. But you are still talking about a fearsome Jets pass rush that has been pretty effective this year, despite the fact that other teams don't even throw the ball on them that much because they're able to run on them as much as they have. So you're looking at that, you're doing the math, and you're like, okay, probably going to be a lot of pressure on Geno, probably going to be some real difficulties in handling the cornerback duo of Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. And I know Sauce Gardner has not been very good this year, but he remains a very talented player. I kind of feel like he's not always locked in. I feel like he's not always engaged. I kind of feel like he's going to get up for a matchup against DK Metcalf. He's going to look at DK Metcalf and go, that's a guy I want to shut down. That's a guy that I want to put on my highlight reel. So this is going to be one of those weeks for me. And we know about DJ Reed because he was here for a little while. Good player. He's been good for the Jets. And you do the math and you're like, this matchup is not great. So what I'm going to say going into this game is I'm expecting relatively low scoring. I think if the Seahawks are able to break this game open and actually put up more than 20 points, it'll probably be because they got a turnover that set up an easy score. And I think that can happen because this Jets offense, they will give you the ball. They are capable of giving you the ball. I'm not taking it away from them. In fact, I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen. But trust me, this Jets defense, it's not the ideal matchup for this Seahawks offense right now. Really, really talented corners combined with a good pass rush. And a weak run defense that we will not really be able to take advantage of in all likelihood. So I say something like 23-13. I think we get the 2-score win just because of maybe a late score, maybe a turnover that sets up a score. That's what I'm feeling. But it's going to be close enough to where one really bad play or a couple really bad plays or a fluke or an unlucky play could flip the game. And I'm hoping it doesn't come to that, but I am certainly aware of the possibility. So, yeah, 23-13, but my guard is up just a little bit. I really don't think this Jets team is good, and I don't think they're going to figure things out now. In fact, I will admit this. If the Seahawks find a way to jump out to a big lead, like 10-0, 13-0 early, you might get this Jets team to roll over and give up because they have nothing to play for at that point. They might just start thinking about January vacations in Cancun. They might start thinking about stuff that has nothing to do with the game. That could happen, but I don't know if this Seahawks team is the team to do that. I think they are the team that gets kind of dragged down into the muck with a team like the Jets, and then they just they lose, or they end up in a really tight game. I'm going to say they don't lose, but I'm going to say the game is pretty tight. All right. Again, hope to see you guys in stream tomorrow morning for this game. Going to go live for however long it takes for the game to end. And probably won't do much of a post-game stream because I won't need to if I stream the game. But maybe. We'll see. Kind of depends on what happens too, right? Depends on how interesting what happens is. Let's get it. Let's go to 7-5. This is, in my opinion, the closest thing to a potential layup left on the schedule. I don't think that Bears game is a layup because you are going to Chicago on Christmas. The weather is going to be really bad. At least this game should be okay on the weather front. So to me, this is the closest thing to a layup you have left. Please don't blow it. And let's give ourselves a little bit of a margin for error against teams like the Packers. All right. Go Hawks. Everyone, have a good rest of your day. See you guys for the college football stuff later. And yeah, almost to the end of November. Sub up if you haven't already. Have a good day.